Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, we're going to be talking about a book that I read last week called Deep Work by Cal Newport, where he basically argues that the ability to do deep work is the most valuable and the most rare skill in this super competitive economy, where businesses would rather hire machines than people, and where businesses can basically hire anyone around the world to do the work. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dami. I'm an architect based in Vancouver, BC. On this channel, I talk about architecture, design, and productivity. And if you're interested in any of these topics, please consider subscribing. So in the book, Deep Work, Cal Newport goes into describing why deep work is so important in this very distracted society. And he also gives us 5 actionable steps to foster this ability to do deep work. So deep work is the ability to focus on specific tasks without distraction. And they're usually tasks that are cognitively demanding. And usually these sessions would last anywhere between 1 to 4 hours. And by comparison, shallow work is something that's not very cognitively demanding. It's something that's usually very logistical in nature. So things like scheduling meetings, responding to emails, responding to messages. And they can usually be done in a state of distraction. And he says they don't bring much new value to the world, and they're very easily replicatable. So in the past couple of decades, our communication tools like social media, instant messaging, meetings, open offices have exploded, but our ability to be selective on these tools have not. He says that as long as these tools offer some benefit, we don't really carefully consider the negatives of these tools. And most companies encourage multitasking. They expect a speedy response to emails. Most companies have a lot of meetings. And especially as you get into more senior roles, you're managing a number of different projects rather than focusing on just one. And you end up doing a lot more logistical tasks. We don't actually have the metrics to tell us how this is hurting our bottom line. And he calls this the principle of least resistance, which means that without clear feedback on how something is hurting our business, we tend to just go with the behaviors that are the easiest in the moment. And he says that without a very clear idea of what productivity means, our workforce goes back to this very old industrial idea of productivity, which is doing a lot of stuff in a very visible manner. So for example, if you respond to a lot of emails very quickly, it's very visible to everyone that you're on top of it. As opposed to if you're researching on a specific topic, it might be hard for you to show the results of that in the next couple hours. And also shallow work is easier. It basically creates this illusion of productivity, but doesn't actually add that much value and is very easily replicatable. So what this means is that we live in a world where our attention is very fractured and the average person does very little deep work on a daily basis. So apparently if you constantly spend your time in this state of shallow work, your brain permanently loses the capacity to do deep work. So the science behind that is that there's apparently these things called myelin in our brains. And so whenever you're doing a specific task, myelin builds up around the neurons that are connected to performing that specific task. And so this allows the circuits to fire more smoothly. And so when you keep practicing one skill, these circuits fire over and over again. And so you create this like layer of myelin around the neurons. And so this is how the brain basically cements a skill. And so apparently it takes years and years of practice to get into the habit of doing deep work and to increase performance. And so that's really the difference between like your average Joe and your like expert performer. He also talks about this idea of attention residue. So when you switch between tasks, your attention doesn't immediately switch. There's a part of your brain that's still on the task that you were doing before. And that's probably why so many productivity gurus encourage time batching. So doing like a similar set of tasks all at the same time and like limiting context switching. So what this all means is that to perform at your peak level, you need like full concentration without any distractions, and to be able to work for an extended period of time. So how do you actually do deep work? So he provides 5 steps that you can implement into your life. And basically they design your environment and your life so that it makes doing deep work a lot easier. So I've tried a couple of these myself and they've made a very positive change in my life, and I would highly suggest you try them too. But I would also suggest maybe trying one at a time, because you don't want to try doing all of them and get discouraged and stop doing them, right? So number 1, learn how to categorize tools as deep or shallow. So first you try to imagine a goal or a desired outcome in whatever aspects of your life. It could be your personal life, it can be in your professional life. For each of the tools that are consuming your time and energy, ask yourself, like, is this really helping me achieve my desired outcome? And if the answer is no, he suggests quit the tool, which is obviously not super easy to do. But that is his suggestion. Very extreme, I know. Number 2, make quick structural changes that encourages deep work. So this is actually a pretty common trick that you do if you're trying to build new habits. You basically design your environment so that it's really hard for you to get distracted. And so here are some of the structural changes that Cal Newport recommends. Number 1, disable all calls, messages, and notifications because nothing is that urgent. Number 2, become hard to reach. Set auto response to emails so that people don't have an expectation that you're going to respond immediately. Number 3, quit social media. He says just try quitting for 30 days and don't even tell people that you're going to be leaving social media, because actually nobody will care. So you might have noticed that I haven't posted anything on Instagram for over a month. And that is partially because I didn't really have anything to post, but also because I was trying this little experiment. And it has freed up a lot of free time for me, because I used to, whenever I was on transit, I used to go on Instagram and scroll through Instagram. But now I listen to audiobooks. So I finished reading this book this month. I finished reading Grit by Angela Duckworth. I also finished reading The 4-Hour Workweek. So it's been a good transformation for me. Number 4, work in a quiet place. I don't know who thought this open plan office was a good idea, but most of our offices are now open floor plans. And so it can be kind of hard to get some focused work done. He suggests going to a private room or the library to get your work done, or using noise canceling headphones. Number 5, work at a quiet time. So you might remember from my other video where I was talking about trying to build up the habit of waking up at 6 a.m. So I actually recently pushed my time to 5 a.m. It was hard. So I do my writing just right in the morning. and I actually get to work around 7 a.m. So I have a full hour and a half where I'm in the office by myself. And so that's probably where I get the most of my work done in the day. Just being able to not have any distractions for an hour and a half has been a total game changer. Number 6, limit internet access during deep work time. So he suggests to gather everything you need before you start your deep work session. But I mean, yeah, I think this one's probably the most tricky because for most research, you need to use the internet. He also suggests blocking off websites that you know are problematic for you. For me, that would be Facebook. Number 7, get visibility on deep versus shallow time by minuting the day. So he says that the best way to change something is to measure it. So he suggests keeping a log of everything that you're doing at like 5 to 10 minute intervals. And so at the end of the day, you can go back and assess how much time you spent being distracted and how much time you spent actually being productive and focused. Number 8, decide on a fixed time when you finish your work and try to stick to it. Because, shutting down for the day means you're giving your brain some time to relax, which will definitely help you focus for the next day. This is probably one of the hardest things to do because a lot of times your work just kind of bleeds into your day. But yeah, he says just really try to commit to a end of work time and just really stick to it. And the 9th step is train your attention. So a lot of these steps before were ways you can eliminate shallow work from your life, but he also suggests to actively practice deep work and actively practice focusing on a daily basis. It's kind of like meditation. As you're focusing on your task, if you see your attention wander off, just gently bring it back to the initial object. He also suggests to become familiar and comfortable with boredom. So if you're standing in a line, don't just immediately pull out your phone to look at things to do. He says just stand there and just learn to be bored. And the other thing he suggests is practice thinking while you're walking, which sounds like such a strange idea. But we usually tend to listen to music or listen to audiobooks while we're walking. And I feel like with the new technologies, it has become rarer and rarer for me to just have moments where I'm walking in silence with my own thoughts. And so I actually started doing that more actively, and I found it kind of hard to just walk and think. Like, I find that it's much easier for me to write down my ideas where I can visually see them, but I can really see the value of this practice. So this is something that I'm trying to integrate a little bit more into my life. And then he also suggests giving little workout exercises for your mind. So for example, learning a memorization trick or learning a new language. There's actually a really great forum that I follow. It's called The Art of Memory. And people just like memory nerds talk about their different memory techniques. And I think like 10 years ago, I bought this course called P-Memory, where you can basically train yourself how to have photographic memory. And I actually never ended up completing the course because it was just like way too tedious. After a couple of courses, I could visibly see the increase in my level of focus because it just required you to, like a huge part of memory is just being able to focus. And so that was it. That was my summary of the book Deep Work. And if you're interested in this topic, I would highly recommend reading the full book because he actually offers a lot of really interesting studies and examples and stories of people whose really embodied this idea of deep work in their lives and how that has impacted their careers and their professional lives and their personal lives. So yeah, it's a good, fairly quick read. I would love to get your thoughts on this. Do you try to actively implement deep work into your life? And what do you think are the skills that are going to be super valuable and rare in the next 5 to 10 years? If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps other people discover the channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be notified next time I make a video, you can hit the bell button. And if you have any other book reviews that you'd like me to do, just leave it in the comments below. And with that, goodbye.